got out of playing with people or taking lessons was getting to hear them in the physical space. And this is something that nobody ever talks about. It's like you can watch them on YouTube and you're like, okay, I see their arms moving like this, but you don't know what they sound like because there's all these mics that have phase problems and there's all this compression going on. There's all this EQ and there's close mics on things when they don't, when their sound is not necessarily meant to have close mics on things. You don't know what they sound like until you get in a room with them. So I think getting in a room with a teacher and getting to play and then hear him or her play back at you with more years and more experience was like, oh, the drum can sound like that. Like the tom can sound like that. The kick drum can sound like that. And then just kind of adjusting based on that, you know. So that was like the main thing that I got early on out of lessons. And I was a fairly decent player at a young age, so nobody really ever wanted to fix my technique or whatever, even though I don't know if I have good technique. It's something I'm more interested as I get older. But, you know, I think having good technique is probably really helpful, and it's something that I'm going to work on as I get older. But, yeah, I think lessons, as I said, it's like getting a real teacher that can be like, well, you're doing this every time. Like, you might do something that feels great every time. Like, I play this fill, and it feels great, but you're rushing on this note every time. And somebody can be there to point that out and say, you know, here's a weakness, you know. So
bring up a really interesting perspective that we haven't talked about, which is when you do hear drummers playing on YouTube, obviously you can copy what they're doing, and every drummer goes through the phase of copying what another drummer is doing. I think that's good. But you know, you're not really understanding necessarily why he played what he did when he played it.
that's right.
You're just able to play it. But
Yeah.
and we've talked about that a lot. But the interesting thing you bring up is you don't know what the drums actually sound like.
Right.
Because you're hearing them after the fact.
Right.
If you were actually in the studio with them, you'd hear what those drums actually sounded like, which is what's giving you the sound that you're hearing at the end of the day through the microphones. But
That's right.
That's an interesting thought.
Yeah,
So,
or going to see, you know, players live and get to stand as close as you can to them just to see what it feels like, you know. I think that's huge.